Yeah, so the 5 ways you're paid is, this means that you have 5 ways: appreciation, cash flow, loan pay down made by tenants, tax benefits, and inflation profiting, which I touched on earlier here with Greg. You're paid 5 ways. So let's explore these. The easiest way to do it is with a simple example. And yeah, there are a few numbers flying around here, but you know what's interesting with numbers? Numbers get a lot more interesting when we put a dollar sign next to them. So put a dollar sign next to these numbers, that brings interest. And we're not just talking about anyone's dollars, we're talking about your dollars here. So that's what makes the example interesting. So we need to keep it simple. So just say you've carefully purchased a $100,000 rental single-family home where the rent income exceeds the expenses. Yes, you can still find these in the United States. If that's kind of small time for you, this is all based on ratios. You can just 10x that or 20x that or whatever you want to do. When you make a 20% down payment on this 100K property, that leaves you with an 80K loan. The property is already tenanted. So the first way you're paid is typically, just generally again, over time with appreciation. Your property appreciates from 100K up to 106K. That is just commensurate with real estate's historic appreciation rate. That frankly doesn't sound very thrilling, 6%. So what? Until you realize this, your $6,000 gain, that's based on your down payment of only $20,000. That magic of leverage, 6K divided by 20K, that's 30%. Now your leverage light bulb goes on. Well, wait, how did you get a 30% return from 6%? Like, how did that happen? That's because you achieved a 6% return on both your 20K down payment and the 80K that you borrowed from the bank. That 80K borrowed from the bank, the return on that goes to you, not the bank. Now we're talking about the benefit of using other people's money, like I touched on before. You got a 30% rate of return. We've only talked about the first of 5 ways you're paid. If you can follow that, you can understand the other ones, because the second one is cash flow. Cash flow, that is your rent income minus all of the monthly expenses. Let's just be conservative. Let's say that only gives you $100 of residual income. Again, not that thrilling in itself. That's $1,200 a year of cash flow, and that's still divided by your same 20K of skin in the game. That is another 6% return. So we now have a 30% return for you from leverage depreciation and 6% from cash flow. And by the way, that 6% cash flow portion, that's known as your cash on cash return. That's what that refers to, your annual cash flow divided by your skin in the game. The third way you're paid is with what I like to call your ROA, your return on amortization. Your tenant pays down your loan for you. That's a benefit that you don't have in your own home because you had to work to go pay down the principal balance on your mortgage, but your tenant does that for you here. So at a 5% interest rate on a 30-year mortgage, that's more than $1,000 that the tenant pays down for you annually, and that's still divided by your 20K of skin in the game. That's another return to you of 5%. The fourth of 5 ways is real estate investors get all the tax benefits, and I'm not going to get into all of them because it gets to be too many numbers. So we're talking about benefits like depreciation that you can typically use as a write-off against part of your rent income. With 1031 exchanges, you don't have to pay any capital gains tax. I've legally never paid any capital gains tax in my life. There's something that Trump helped introduce called bonus depreciation. We're not going to get into all that. We're just going to call this big lump a 5% gain to you from the tax benefits. I know that's kind of hazy, but there's a lot going on there. We just don't have time to delve into all that. And then the fifth and final way, this is that one that even some advanced investors fail to consider. Just like you wouldn't keep $1 million in the bank, that would be a bad idea because inflation would erode its purchasing power. Oppositely, when you borrow, inflation helps you. If you borrow $1 million, it's just a 3% inflation rate. You only owe the bank back $970K after year 1 and $940K in inflation adjusted dollars after year 2. So inflation erodes the weight of your mortgage debt balance just the same. And a lot of investors don't understand that. Billionaire with a B, real estate investors don't even understand that. So, I mean, let's do it. This is the cool thing. Let's add up all 5 ways that you're paid. We said you had 30% from appreciation, 6 from cash flow, 5 from your ROA, your return on amortization, another 5% from tax benefits, and 3% from inflation hedging, rather. And your year one return from this income property is a whopping 49%. 49%. And maybe you think, oh, well, that's got to correlate with some high flying risk, or what are you doing? Some no money down strategy that you learned on an infomercial? No, this is just buy and hold real estate investing. You know, that's all it is, of residential property, of something essential that a tenant needs.
I like it, my friend. I like it. You know, for the first probably 3 months or 6 months of the show, I'm so focused on the cash flows that Pablo is asking me questions. Other folks are asking me questions. You know, okay, what are your expected returns? And our expected returns just on the cash flows are 9 to 11%. And so the moment that Pablo asked me to break it down and to include all of the different profit centers, you know, the numbers, they went well over 20%, up to 49%, like you're talking about. Very believable, right? And his mind was like, dude, why you been holding back on me all this time? He's like, and I'm like, well, I probably could have done a better job of explaining how impactful all of those profit centers are. And the big thing is that this is a normal, readily available, like JWB property or a turnkey rental property with a reputable provider. This isn't that stock that is that, you know, unicorn that has to do well. This is readily available. And then when you're comparing it to what you explained in the stock market too, the thing that is also readily available that you do not get in the stock market is the ability to use other people's money. Right? The ability to use other people's money and borrow at 4% in today's environment is an incredible tool. Quite frankly, the numbers would not look nearly as good at what Keith was just talking about there if you had to do it all in cash, right? But because you can use other people's money responsibly in an asset with low interest rates like 4%, in an asset where it pays for itself every single month, it's not a liability for you, is what makes this such a beautiful asset class and why making debt such a tool to help you create wealth. So I think you did a great job, my friend. I think we should just package that up and just replace me every time I'm explaining that and what Keith said right there.